Good afternoon. Hey guys, welcome to Titan Talk. Today you have myself, Captain Coop. Now, unfortunately, everybody's busy, so it is just me today. So we're going to have kind of a short podcast today, but I did still want to go over some stuff and get some good information out for you guys. So I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much, and let's hop into it. So today we were talking a little bit about clear goals, setting goals as physical security. The cool thing about setting goals is it gives us a definition and a starting point and an end point. So we know what we're looking forward to, and we're looking at what the end point is and what we're looking to provide for our people. And this would be for the clients, for their patrons, and even for ourselves. So when we're talking goals, we're talking not only the professional goals that we're giving our clientele, we're also talking about goals for ourselves. So what are goals that we can set for ourselves so we can continue to learn and continue to bring this up? So as always, continued training is number one goal for us. That's always my number one goal. If you're just getting into security, some goals to set for yourself would be CPR, AED, things like that, things that will start your knowledge and give you a good baseline, something you can work with and work forward from. Now, if we're talking goals as what does a goal mean to a physical security officer when they're in the field? To me, that's going to be something along the lines of providing safety, incident response, minimizing loss, notification, and one of the biggest pieces, that deterrence. Okay, when someone looks at physical security, they're looking at that person standing there in uniform. Most of the time, they're looking for that big piece of that the deterrence, that physical person standing there deterring bad behavior. Okay. So with those goals in mind, it helps provide us focus on how we handle ourselves when we're standing at our post, we're doing our rounds, or we're doing anything related to what we're related to our job on shift. It also allows us that same focus when we're not on shift, because it allows me to say, okay, where do I need to continue my training to help me in my goals in these areas? And that's fantastic. We love these things like that because it allows us to grow. It allows us to get better. So when we're thinking deterrence as a big one, it's number one priority. How do we get better at that physical view of us? Take pride in your appearance. That's going to be the first thing that someone sees as you walk in. I'm not saying you have to sit there and shine everything and all that, but take pride in how you look. Make sure your uniform's clean. Make sure everything lines up. Make sure you're not disheveled. When you're standing, stand straight up. Those little things like that add in a huge measure. When someone first walks in, you give that initial physical deterrence because they see you and they see that appearance. When someone sees that good-looking appearance, they're less likely because they see that and they go, man, that person takes care of themselves. Well, if they take that good care of themselves there, imagine how they protect this place. And that plays into safety. So when we're looking at those goals, that's what we're talking about. And again, that can come back to us as well as as personal goals. How do I want to maintain myself? So keep that stuff in mind. One thing I do want to say is if you guys have any goals that you guys set, let me know what they are in the comments. We'll talk about them, throw them out there. But that's kind of what that focus allows us to have. It improves efficiency, because as I sit there and I think about my goal and I sit there and I'm standing there, I'm at home and I'm thinking about my goals and I'm thinking about how that interaction works, it allows me to think about these items and come up with a clear path on how I can make it work, how I can get better at them, and allows a better efficiency on how I use those items. Okay. So that's what we're looking at when it comes to defining the goals. And when we talk about goals and we look at those, that's safety, the incident response, deterrence, notification piece. That notification piece is big too in communication. And we talked about communication in the past, how it's one of the biggest things when it comes to what we do because of the customer service aspect. That's where that communication plays in. We're talking about when we have to notify managers, we have to notify the business owners, the people around us. We notify them of what's going on. It brings everything kind of together on that. So that's what we're looking for. Okay. Keep those in mind when we're talking about that and when we're thinking about it at home. Set those goals for yourself. Keep it simple too. It doesn't have to be anything major. When you're looking at the goals, it can be as simple as I want to have my CPR certification personally. I want to have my CPR certification by this far in my security career. I want to be able to have AED at the same time. I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to have this down. If that can be weightlifting, it can be karate or self-defense classes, things like that. You can use those as your goals and take those little victories as you move down that line. Those things will help you. Okay, it improves your focus and efficiency. And we're looking at the notification piece and things like that. It improves response time and a lot of other things that are key to what we do. So just keep that stuff in mind when you're thinking of that. Think of what your goals are, and then think of what the goals that you want to set for yourself when you're at work. And again, the big ones that I find that I use would be the safety of myself and those around me, my response to any incident around me, my deterring ability. So how do I look? What's my presence like? And my notification. How am I communicating with my staff, with the staff around me, and how am I communicating with my fellow officers and my supervisors? Those are the goals that I set for myself. Those are probably the easiest that I find. And those work personally and professionally. Okay. So we're looking at things like that. But as we go through those, remember to stick to those basics, guys. Remember, we're always talking about communication. We're always talking about all that stuff because that's how important it is. So keep working on those basic things as you work towards these more advanced ones. Because as we move through our careers, we start working on the more advanced stuff. And we've, again, talked about the beginning stuff, the communication piece and all of that, customer service aspect. That's all the very basics, the very easy part of what we do. Then we start moving into these more difficult, defining the goals for what we want when it comes to security and how we act and how we are out there. Okay. So remember that as we go through those things. Dylan, thanks for joining. Glad to see you there. Again, it is just myself today. So if you guys have anything to say in chat, you'll see me look periodically, but you guys are welcome to say and let us know. And if you guys have any goals yourselves, again, put them in chat. I'll throw them out there. We'll talk about them, pros and cons, and what you guys like about them and stuff like that. Something when it comes to clear goals as well, making sure we're enhancing our accountability, our performance, how we handle ourselves out there, and what we take accountability for. So when I'm standing at one of my locations, when I'm standing at one of my locations, I'm taking accountability for who's around me, what's going on, what incidents am I responding to, all of those things there. I'm keeping that stuff in mind. And I'm keeping myself accountable for it. So I try to do everything I can to keep myself on the front line of that stuff. Adapting goals to our current challenges that are around us is a huge portion of what we take forward on that. Look at the climate we're in, everything that goes on around us. Our goals are ever changing in security. What we're looking for, how we're looking to interact with the public, how we're looking to interact with the staff around us, all of that stuff. Always remember that our goals are always going to constantly be moving. Okay. No matter what we do, the goals are always going to be pushed a little bit forward, a little bit more, and a little bit more. The requirements of you personally, your goals for yourself personally will always move forward, which is always a good thing. That means you're learning, growing, and advancing. Okay. But professionally, when we're talking about adapting our goals and everything to the challenges around us, that's when you start looking at what's going on around us in the environment. What's going on at our sites, how do we adapt ourselves for that? Best way, Dylan says, the best way to even stand out and show that you're capable is take on more than just a regular officer. Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. And that's a goal you can set for yourself too. How do I take on more? How do I show that I can do that? That's fantastic, Dylan. We have to remember that when it comes to our goals, when it comes to incident response, the deterrence and stuff, as things change throughout the world and how everything goes, we have to be flexible with those, and we have to be able to change those as it happens to make sure that those goals stay in line with what's going on around us. So being able to adapt that stuff, even your personal goals. Oh, what is the best way? You didn't ask that as a question, Dylan. Okay. So what is the best way to stand out and show that you're capable of taking on more than just a regular officer? Okay, now that we're reading that as a question, I'll get that to you, Dylan. It's a fantastic question. I actually love that question. So things you can do that I recommend, and I've said this before, are the basic things. This is when you're doing your reports, make sure that you're doing your report, your verbiage, your punctuation, the basics of your report writing is down. We've talked about that in the past. When it comes to your communication, as you're communicating to your supervisors, this is one that I have to do still to this day. I have to stop before I call a supervisor and I have to think about what I'm going to say. What information do I need them to know, and how do I get that to them without giving them a bunch of the extra stuff? A lot of the times when we're trying to talk to a supervisor, we're trying to talk to an officer, or we're trying to pass along information with that communication piece, a lot of the times you're going to run across is you're going to want to give them all the information that you have right then and there, just blurt it out. Don't do that. Take your time. Take a second before you make that phone call as you're giving out that information. Be like, okay, what is the most important part of this this conversation I need to have? I have A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, well, A, B, and C are the most important sections of this. If we've got time afterwards, or if they ask additional questions, I can answer it with this one, and I can answer it with E. Okay, make that call, talk to the other officer, talk to your supervisor. Hey, just want to let you know, this is what's going on right now. A, B, C, okay? And then that's your initial stuff knocked out. That works on that communication. That right there shows a huge step forward as well. That's what, to me, stands out when it comes to other officers, is that effective communication, fantastic report writing. And sometimes it's more than just that. As you're out in the world and as you're standing at your post and you're doing your job, you'll get little tidbits and compliments. Eventually, as long as you're doing good, those will always get back to your supervisors. Maybe not always to your knowledge, but they will always get back to it. And so maintaining that professionalism, that good communication, as that goes down the line, your clients, the people around you, all of them will take notice, and they'll start to like it, and they'll start to love it, and they'll start reporting back to your supervisor. And hey, just want to let you know that this officer's got fantastic communication. Every time there's an incident or anytime there's a question, a concern that we have, they're on top of it. They've got their stuff squared away. They've got answers for us, or they know how to help us, or they know who to direct us to, right? That is another piece in that I personally look for when it comes when I'm looking at officers and them showing how they've got that stuff. Fantastic question, Dylan. Thank you for clarifying that was a question. I thought you were saying you set that as a goal. So good one on you on that one. So fantastic. We've talked about it before, and I'm going to continue talking about it forever and ever, but that professional growth, building that, all of that stuff, you're fine, Dylan. It could have been the way I read it, to be honest with you, man. Building that professional growth as you learn CPR, AED, other classes like that. You can take trauma classes outside of work and stuff like that as you're learning that stuff, that professional growth, learning your industry, researching it. A big thing that I didn't think of doing until recent years is looking up things that are related to what I do for a living. I did in some of my past jobs and stuff, but that was because I had to learn new things and I had to stay current on other items. On this one and what we do, it's a little bit more difficult. You have to read a little bit more. You have to have a better understanding of what's going on and how things work. But keeping up to par on that, keeping around an eye on how everything around us is acting. Are there any major incidents that we got to be paying attention to? A big one that is hitting us recently is the hurricane going on. As a security professional, I look at that and I go, how do I help keep people safe during something like that? And in my head, I go through scenarios on how I would help, or I would try to help, or, and I take those as a learning moment. Okay, how can I do this? And I watch how the world reacts to it. And I watch how, the local law enforcement and everybody reacts and how they're helping. And I take and I learn from that. I look at those situations. A good resource that I know of that I've started using recently is ASIS. Not sponsored, but they're fantastic. You can go to their website and they've got a ton of information. There's podcasts out there on there. There's blog posts. I mean, just a absolute information overload at ASIS about security and how it relates and everything about it. I mean, there's tons of great information there that you can learn from and you can take points from, you can grow from. You can even get a mentor from there. They've got fantastic things you can look at as you're looking at their website. So look them up. They're a fantastic resource. We've actually had ASIS members on the podcast before. You guys can go back in our history and you can see some of them on there. We've talked to more than a few of them, and they're fantastic. Every one of them has a fantastic view. We had some on here talking about the transition from military to law enforcement, from law enforcement back to civilian life, and how all that plays out. Fantastic wells of knowledge there. And being able to tap into that and learn from those those knowledge bases is key point in that professional growth and always improving yourself. So keep that stuff in mind when we're talking about that. But when we're talking, as we go through those things, your goals will always change. Define your goals to yourself, your personal goals and your professional goals. Make sure you know what they are. Make sure you know how you define them and how they apply to you. Make sure you know how they apply to where you are. And make sure you're always trying to adapt those to what's going on around you. And make sure the big one there is always continue that growth, professional and personal, because that personal growth always plays into your professional side. So other than that, we'll hop into weather. Like I said, this is going to be a little bit shorter one. I appreciate everybody's time. We'll hop into the weather real quick, and then I'll cut you guys loose and let you guys start to enjoy your weekend. So what we're looking at now, we've been 86 today. It's been actually pretty nice today. We're looking at for the weekend is 91 with partly cloudy on Saturday, Sunday 73 and sunny, Monday 63, Tuesday 63, Wednesday 68, and Thursday 78, sunny all throughout the week. Friday we're looking at 77, Saturday we're looking at 71 with some showers throughout the day, and Sunday we're looking at 71. So we're looking at like it's starting to get into that cooler weather. So make sure you're dressing for that. You've got a nice base layer on and items like that. Dress for the weather. Be prepared for rain and stuff like that. We're starting to get back into that season. And I will let you guys get to it. I appreciate everything you guys do. It allows me to continue to do stuff like this. And when I can drag other people on, it allows me to drag them on as well. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Remember, hydration is key. Hydration is the day before, not the day of. Thanks, guys, so much. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Stay safe.